Hello and welcome to the Boilermaker Lounge here on the Lounge Sports Network and ASAP Network. Uh, I'm Sam Sprunger, as always, joined by Grant, Flora Grant. It was a mighty fine weekend for us Boilermaker fans.
Yeah, it was about as good as it can get. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. Honestly, I thought it could have been a loss to High Point. I thought it could have been exactly what we have, and so to see them be able to perform well and to take care of business in the opening two rounds was really good to see. Really fun just to see Purdue back in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, let's talk about. We've got a couple of games we're going to react to. The first one is the aforementioned High Point that you talked about. Purdue with a 12-point win was a little hairy there at some points, but for the most part, Purdue really came through and performed in this game against a very upstart and highly picked 13 seed.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say they played their best game. Like they
No.
definitely had lots of areas that it was like, oh, they still got to get better here and there, and but they came out and they took care of business, and that's really what the first round's all about. I thought it was a really good game for them to kind of settle into the tournament and to get their feet wet a little bit, especially for those freshmen and those guys that have stepped into bigger roles since last year. So yeah, to see them come out and to kind of take control early in the game and be able to fend off High Point, even though in the second half I thought there were some things they needed to do better to make sure that High Point stayed behind them and didn't come up and make it a game, which they kind of did. But Purdue made
Yeah.
plays down the stretch to keep control and not let it get too close.
Well, and to look at some of the team stats during the game, uh, Purdue 33% from threes, 5 of 15, but and not a very good free throw shooting day. If they would have had their performance against McNeese be what they did against High Point as well, it might have been a close to a 20-point win. But Purdue missing 8 free throws during that time. But the defense or the total rebounds and then also the offensive rebounds, I think, is really what stood out for me in how Purdue was able to control the game. Purdue out rebounded High Point 45-24. That's huge. But then on the offensive side, 19-7. And that just meant that Purdue was doing what they could to get those second chance points, which they outscored High Point 20-8 on that. So a very defensively strong game from a team that we've seen struggle so much during the season.
Yeah, coming into this game, analysts and all sorts of people were saying, "Hey, this could be a game that we see get up to the 80s and 90s. Like it's going to be a shootout because both of these
Yeah.
teams have great offenses but don't defend very well." But we saw Purdue really flip that script, and they still only scored 75 compared to what maybe 80 some or 90 some like people thought they might have scored. But their defense was really good, and they really just took control of the game. So that was really nice. Rebounding was, like you said, it was huge. I think we're seeing Purdue, the fact that they play in such a physical conference in the Big Ten, and they've been undersized. They've had to fight in the Big Ten just to keep the rebounding game even. Now they played High Point and then McNeese, two mid-major schools that don't have that size and physicality like the rest of the Big Ten schools. So I think we saw some overcompensation where now Purdue takes control on the boards when you don't necessarily expect that given their size and the way they've rebounded the ball throughout the season.
Well, excuse me. Looking at the bench points. High Point outscored Purdue 30-22 from the bench, but the 22 points, there was so much more coming from the contributors of Purdue coming off the bench, so much more than they have in the past, and it makes me kind of wonder. You look at it, see there's 22 points, okay, 10 by Heidi. Heidi also had or 11 from Heidi, and he also had 10 rebounds. He ended up starting the second half over Caleb First, and it makes it apparent that if Cam decides he's going to or gets the opportunity to respond and play hard and do and contribute, he's going to get more minutes. I think Coach Painter loves Caleb First. He loves what he brings, team leadership and things like that. But when it comes to performance on the floor, there are opportunities for those bench guys to get some more playing time because Caleb First is not a overpowering and strong choice for points. Whereas Cam Heide, if you've got him open at 3, he's taking it. And he's been hitting them lately too.
Yeah, and I think especially against these mid-major schools that aren't as big and physical like we talked about compared to Big Ten teams,
Yeah.
it helps Purdue to play their small ball lineup with Colvin and Heide, and it becomes more effective because they're not as prone to those rebounding issues and some of those defensive breakdowns because they can match up better with those smaller teams. It's a problem we might see when they play Houston, but in this High Point game, it worked out really well. Heide played 31 minutes in this game. But also Will Berg, 11 minutes off the bench, that he just looked a lot more productive and solid than what we saw in the 1 or 2 minutes a game he got in the Big Ten tournament. To come in and have 4 points, and one of them was like a little fake, and then he'd take a dribble and score. Like, just seeing him do those types of things, like, that was huge. And if he keeps coming in to provide some of those minutes off the bench and isn't a liability, that really helps Trey Kaufman-Renn, and it really helps Purdue overall.
Well, and I think, and I don't know if we've talked about this on the air, but we've kind of mentioned it a little bit with in our conversations. I think Coach Painter actually thought that this might be the way they go during the tournament, because you don't want to not have a big in there if TKR does get in foul trouble. So you saw some of that against High Point, to where they were doing the offense defense switching out a little bit. And I think it was okay. We've done it during the regular season. At the tail end of it, we did it in the Big Ten tournament. Let's get you ready for doing this during the NCAA tournament. And I tell you what, he has improved every time that he's gone in. Berg has. That he's not the liability that we thought maybe he was during the regular season, and only getting those 2-3 minutes a game or whatever in the dire straits type of game, to where now you're not going, oh goodness, hopefully they can tread water with Bergen. It's now, hey, maybe he can get something going. At the very least, he's 7'2" in the paint, and he's a big body. So at the very least, you've got 5 fouls you can use with him to be able to bang around with some big guys.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And we've seen Coach Painter do this these last few years, where he kind of makes a rotation change come Big Ten tournament and NCAA tournament. Right. Back when Purdue won the Big Ten tournament and they lost to FDU, it was Brandon Newman. He had a lot of DNPs in the regular season that year, and then just kind of wasn't doing a whole lot. Comes into the Big Ten tournament and makes some big shots and had some really explosive moments. Also helped their defense. Ended up starting and taking Ethan Morton's starting spot by the end of that season, and was really huge for him down the stretch. Then last year, I think Miles Colvin saw the same thing happen, where he had some DNPs in the regular season, but comes in the postseason and knocks down some shots, plays some good defense, and just provides a spark. And now Will Berg is starting to fill that role. And it really helps Purdue, I think, to win late in the season, because Will Berg's not a guy that's going to show up on the scouting report much for other teams. So for him to just check in a 7'2" guy who no one really knows about, who can come in, score a couple baskets, and just switch things up for the other team, can be a key fact and a key moment for a team like Purdue in the NCAA tournament.
Well, and we're not trying to say that he's going to run the take over a game, but he's not going to be one to where he's not going to be as costly, at least from what we've seen in the small sample since they've started incorporating him into the games. We haven't seen too many things that made us think, oh goodness, we're in trouble with him in the game. At the very least, if we don't notice him in the game, he's not being a liability at the very least. And we'll talk about it a little bit more in just a few minutes, but he'd been on the floor, and yesterday, or against McNeese, he was still a plus. So he was still bringing good things to the game.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd still like to see him maybe be a little more physical, be a stronger rebounder. There's still some things in there I'd like to see him do more of if he sticks around at Purdue and takes a bigger role somewhere down the road. But overall, just to come in, even just play 11 minutes and allow Trey Kaufman-Renn to take 10 minutes off. I mean, TKR has played 35 to 40 minutes in some of these games lately. He played 29 against High Point. That makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the plus minus on the game against High Point. Wilberg at +3, so he's definitely doing positive things. At the very least, you can say positive things for it. And he was a +1 against McNeese. So it's a really nice to be able to, like you said, have that capability to give TKR a couple minutes at a time at the very least. And heaven forbid he gets into foul trouble. But if so, we've got a guy that at least has a little bit of tournament experience, a little bit of recency of playing 10, 11 minutes. It might not be the biggest leak in the boat that we would see.
Yeah. But just on another note, I think Purdue's CJ Cox and Jakari Harris have also been so key to this because they have both settled in as freshmen.
Yep.
They've both made contributions, especially Jakari Harris had 8 points against High Point, but he can knock down a three. He can drive the ball. Like seeing him slash more and do more than just stand around and shoot is good. And then I like when CJ Cox and Jakari Harris are in because I feel like from a backcourt standpoint, they are stronger defensively when those two are in. And that is huge for this Purdue team. It's going to be huge in their game against Houston, but we saw it just with forcing turnovers and staying strong defensively. So not only is it Wilberg, not only is it Cam Heide, but seeing Jakari Harris and CJ Cox step up has really helped this team become a different team than what we've seen the last few weeks.
Well, and Jakari only had the 3 points, excuse me, against High Point, but he played 14 minutes and he had 8 rebounds. That's really big, is to be able to have somebody come off the bench like Harris does and be able to at least get offensive opportunities for at least the rest of the team. So I was pretty impressed by the way. It didn't seem like, and Purdue was up for a little bit, double digits, and then High Point went on a run and got within, I think, 3 maybe. And the announcers are saying, "Oh, and here comes High Point," and you could collectively hear every analyst or person that picked against Purdue going, "Yep, we knew it was going to happen." And I'll be darned if they didn't get it back out to 8 in 2 possessions. And it was just big that they responded the way a team that has gone through a lot of tough games this year, the way you would expect them to come March, because they're battle tested already, having a good portion of their team make it to the national championship game last year. And then this year they play, go through a hard preseason non-con schedule. And then they take some lumps, 4-game losing streak. And we didn't think that was going to happen, but it sure did happen. But I think, and Coach Painter even addressed it, it's hard to build a team to make a March run and have them win the Big Ten title. Now, that's what you hope that you can do, that you're just that much better. But I tell you what, I think they resemble the I don't remember what exact year it was, the 5-seeded Tom Izzo Spartan, Michigan State Spartans that made it to the Final Four. Now, am I claiming it right now that Purdue's going to make it to the Final Four? No. But I'm saying it is a feasibility that they've gone through the ringer all year long, and now we're finally starting to see the team that Matt Painter built.
Yeah, and I do think back to Cox and Harris, that was probably more McNeese when they scored more, but they still just settling in have made a big difference. But yeah, it's weird to say that Purdue could go and potentially compete for a Final Four, just given, like you said, the way they concluded the regular season, and obviously they have a huge test against Houston coming up. If they can beat Houston, they can probably beat about anybody. But they are going to be in Indy. And you talked about the Michigan State team they resemble. I also think they kind of resemble the 2019 Purdue team.
Yep, that too.
If you remember that season, they beat Old Dominion in their first game in a 3-14 matchup, but it was by like 13. It reminded me a lot of the High Point game where they got up by about 10 points or so. They looked like they were in control, but Old Dominion kept kind of hanging around, and you were like, well, is Purdue going to be able to close them out, or is this going to be a game? And they ended up closing them out. But it was that second round game, and I thought this before Purdue played McNeese. I was like, this is where we will learn what Purdue is capable of in this tournament. If they come out and they settle down and they fix some of the things they didn't do against High Point and they look great, then hey, we have a shot here. If not, then the McNeese game might be about as far as we can go. And they came out and they played great against McNeese, which we're going to get into here in the second half of the show.
Yeah, and well, actually, let's make that transition to that one right there. You know, we're to the point overall. Well, put a fine point on the High Point game, no pun intended. But overall, it was a 12-point game, but it really, even when it got close, of the 2 or 3 times that High Point was able to get back into it, I felt good because it was at the fact that while they gave up the lead, they got it right back. And then, High Point winnowed it away back down to 4. Well, then Purdue went on a 6-0 run and blew it out to 10. It just never felt like Purdue was worried. And I think that's a big testament to what they've gone through, excuse me, during the regular season, be it the non-con schedule and the Big Ten schedule. And they've learned from what they're showing that they took their lumps, but it's paying off now.
Yeah, and so you look at the second round matchup, Purdue against McNeese. This reminded me, you compare again, 2019, Purdue played Villanova in the second round, blew them out. I remember going into that game, I thought this is going to be a dogfight. I'm not
reigning
sure.
Champions, like you don't
that year.
Yeah,
not a great matchup, I thought, for the second round, but they just took the house to them and won by 20-some 30 points. I mean, it was never a game. And then you saw similar sort of story against McNeese, where Purdue just got out early, got up by 20 in the first half. And McNeese they had a couple of times where McNeese responded and cut it down to like 15. Everyone thought, well, maybe McNeese can pull off some crazy comeback, but it just never happened. So I think the McNeese game gave me the most confidence about what this Purdue team is capable of versus just a nice win over High Point.
Yeah, they excuse me, they at no point, once they got it to double digits, even when McNeese was able to get it down to that 15, it's like you just weathered a team that McNeese, people had McNeese going to the Sweet 16 and in some cases going to the Elite 8. I saw a couple of reliable pundits saying we just feel that McNeese is hitting at the right time. They took their best shot in the second half, and after they went on, I believe McNeese went on a 9-0 run. Purdue was still up 15, and it was like, okay, there's less and less time, and if they had to, and they weren't easy baskets McNeese was getting, they had to fight for them to get they had to run some good executed motion to get that open 3 that they hit. They had to really bang down and work hard to get those points to get the 9-0 run down to 15 point, being behind by only 15. If you have to play that way the rest of the way for 10 and a half minutes, because I think that was around the time, there ain't no way you're getting 15 points better in that 10 minutes if you've got to play that hard.
Yeah, they ended up needing to try and force turnovers and get some easy transition baskets, which they did a couple of times. I wasn't super pleased with how Purdue was able to handle the pressure all the time. But
19 turnovers.
Yeah, that's not many times you blow teams out when you have 19 turnovers. But which they're going to have to be able to solidify before Houston, because Houston will blow them out by 30 if they do that. But overall, again, they just responded really well. They were making shots from 3, but they have 11 3-pointers in this game, and they did a good job getting open looks. Fletcher Lawyer looked better. His efficiency still wasn't great, but at least he put points on the board. And if that elbow continues getting better, which I guess could be, I would imagine they're still talking about a sprained elbow. If it really is the case, then I'm sure that affects his shooting.
It's his non-shooting hand, though. I mean,
it is, but still, I just feel like when you have such, if you're as good a shooter as Fletcher Lawyer, you have such a rhythm and such a precision to what you do that even your guide hand being injured can affect you a little bit, even if it's just psychologically. Either way,
it's all one similar motion. I get it. Yeah.
Right. I just think the more he plays, surely it'll just help him at least get more confidence. Either way,
Yeah.
though, I mean, overall, they just played a much better game than they did against High Point, and that's what we were looking for. And so to come in and handle a McNeese team that beat a Clemson team, I thought was pretty good. I did not think McNeese was going to beat Clemson. I thought
They
McNeese could have,
dismantled Clemson before they came back and made that run and made it close. They
yeah.
dismantled them.
I was really surprised because I thought if McNeese had played a different 5 seed like Oregon or Memphis or even Michigan, I would have taken them. But given the fact it was against Clemson, a team that beat Duke on their home floor and had a nice season in the ACC, I was like, I don't think Clemson's going to lose this game. And boy, was I wrong about that. McNeese looked great, and then Purdue just completely flipped the script on them. So that was really good to see. Again, you can go through the stats, but yeah, it was just a much better performance from Purdue to really give me some confidence about what they can do later on.
Well, and the great thing, and we'll get to the bench and everything on that one too, or on this one too. Braden Smith didn't have the greatest game. He was 3 of 7 shooting. He only had 10 points. That's not my thing. Is he's done that before to where Purdue's won by a lot. But he only had 5 assists, but he had 8 turnovers. How many times and how well you look at that? How well is your team playing around you to where the best point guard in the country can actually turn the ball over almost 2-1 to assists, and you still won by 14? And before, and even then, it wasn't even that close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they made the most of every possession they had when they didn't turn it over, is really what it
Yep.
says. And their shooting numbers reflect that 45% from the field, 42% from three, and plus the rebounding as well.
Yeah.
So just I feel like their defense has been a huge part of this, but just their overall precision and solidarity, excuse me, has been so much better. Just these last 2 games, they honestly look like a different team than what we've seen the past 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, and looking at points per possession, McNeese averaged 0.984, so just about a point, just under a point per possession. You look at Purdue's 1.134, so they were absolutely making every trip down count. Now they turned the ball over 19 times, but when you have that points per possession over 1 point per possession, you're doing some good stuff offensively.
Yeah, and I wonder what that number looks like when you look at just the possessions where they shot the ball. Like you take away
Right.
all the possessions where they turned it over, and you compare that to McNeese and their numbers where they didn't turn it over. And I'm sure
Yeah.
that the discrepancy is a lot larger than that, and that's a huge reason why they blew them out, essentially.
Yeah. Let's take a look. I got to get the split box up here. Hold on 1 second. Bench points. Purdue's outscored by 18, 34-16. But honestly, am I on the right one? Yeah. There we are. Harris only had 3 points, but Cam Heide and Roosevelt, that's his dad, Miles Colvin, contributed 13 in just those 2. And Cam Heide still on fire with his shooting. He did not miss, and Colvin hits 2 3-pointers, and that right there, that's a great amount of contribution from the bench. And you had a ton of rebounds. Colvin had 6, and Jakari Harris had 5. You're getting some great contributions from your bench, and I love this. They're starting to come around at the right time.
And Colvin and Heide have that ability to make those explosive plays that can really just be momentum shifters in the tournament. We saw that against High Point. Just those back-to-back putback dunks they had were really huge to get that momentum flowing Purdue's way. And that's the type of thing they're going to need, again, as they go throughout the tournament when they play Houston next. And if they were to go further even than that, is the ability to be explosive and have some of those highlight plays because they allow the crowd to get into it and they allow the confidence and the feeling like Purdue is as good or better than their opponent. And from now on, they're going to be in those positions where they're either the underdog or they are right there with the other team that they're playing. And you don't want to – I think it's really huge for a team in the tournament to mentally feel like they are as good or better than their opponent. And I feel like the type of plays that Colvin and Heidi can produce help them to have that mentality and that just feel, that overall just kind of a vibe that they get. And I think that's something maybe a lot of people don't talk about in the tournament. It's just how do you your mentality compared to who you're playing.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, I've preached. I'm on X during games, giving my thoughts. Obviously, people want to hear that, but I go on. I'm always talking, and it was in the Big Ten tournament. It was the first game against High Point. You got to make your free throws. You got to make your free throws. Purdue against High Point, 14 of 22. They missed 8 free throws, and that makes a big difference. Excuse me, you look at the game against McNeese on Saturday. McNeese went 7 of 21, 38%. And Purdue went 11 of 26 at 80, not 11 of 26. Sorry, that was their 19. Check that. I was reading the 3-point percent field goals. McNeese, 5 of 13 at 38%. Purdue, 19 of 23 at 83%. If you knock that down, excuse me, to where Purdue shoots, take add 3 more misses. So it'd be 16 of 23. If they were that percentage, you take that 3 away, that makes it an 11-point game. And let's say McNeese hits 5 more free throws. Well, that makes it a game. And so I really do feel that at least against McNeese, that was a huge difference, because it just felt like every time the Cowboys tried to get back into it, they'd commit a foul, and Purdue hit their free shots for the most part. I mean, you'd like to see 90%. They were at one point 11 of 12. So, I mean, they missed some, but you know what? I'm not upset by it, because you know what? 83%, I'll take it every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, and also think about the junctures those came in. There were times McNeese went and missed 2 free throws in a row, or they may have gone and missed a front end of a 1-and-1. Those front ends of the 1-and-1s really kill you, because you go from potentially being able to score 2 to none just because of 1 missed free throw. And those, not only are they statistically bad, but they also demoralize your team a little bit. And I think we saw that from McNeese, because they were trying to make those runs and cut into the lead. They got to the free throw line, came up empty. And now you go back, Purdue makes a basket, and it feels like a 4 or even 6-point swing depending on the sequence. So, missed free throws, especially in the NCAA tournament, will kill you and backfire. And again, I didn't love Purdue's free throw shooting against High Point, but it was much better against McNeese, and it's going to have to be there against Houston.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one for the Boilermakers. Not an undoable one, though.
Right.
I do think one of us had Purdue beating Houston in the Sweet 16.
They did.
I'm just, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that would be pretty insane, because I look at the matchups, and it does not look good for Purdue. But at the same time, when you have Braden Smith and you have guys like Fletcher Lawyer that can shoot the basketball, and you have good players on your team, it gives you the ability to play with anybody.
Yeah, it sure does. So really looking forward to doing a preview either on Wednesday, or maybe we'll wait till Friday, since Purdue doesn't play until Friday against Houston. We'll try to make a show for Wednesday. Maybe try to get somebody to come on and talk about the Boilermakers up to this point in the NCAA tournament. So that's the end of today's Boilermaker Lounge. For Grant Flora, I'm Sam Sprunger. We'll see you on